Welcome to the MFS Wellness Podcast, a hybrid structure encompassing health, fitness, self-improvement, and entertainment, where no topic is off limits and all opinions are graciously welcomed.
Let's get on with the show!
And now, here's the host of the show, Mike Sinopoli.
This is the MFS Wellness Podcast. I am Mike Sinopoli, and on this episode, I am going to talk about the fact that everything ends. Everything has an ending date, an expiration date. It's going to change. It's going to shift. It's going to go away, and that goes for everything in life. I mean, we're talking people. We're talking places. We're talking traditions. We're talking pets. We're talking all kinds of stuff. This episode is going to be dedicated to my dog, who I put down roughly a week and a half ago. This is for Sydney, 14 years old. Unfortunately, she had some old dog health issues that progressed and took a turn that we didn't like, and had to make the decision, a very difficult one as always, to do that. It was August 7th. We took her in. Kids got to say goodbye to her. Then I was in the room with her, still coherent enough, still being sweet. The vet has chocolate and sprinkles and whipped cream and stuff in there for the end of life as a last meal kind of thing for the dogs. And this dog was really into the whipped cream. I was filling my hand with it, and she was just enjoying the living shit out of it. She probably had 6 or 7 handfuls of that, And when, she was done, I looked her straight in the eyes, told her, I said, I love you. She licked my nose, and shortly after that, she was peacefully sent to the other side. My dogs were great. I got them in 2011. I did an episode in February when my other dog Lola had gotten put down, and now I'm doing this one a little differently as a tribute in memory of my dog Sydney. One thing, I'm going to give you 3 lessons from dogs I believe that we can learn in a second here, But realistically, me personally, these dogs were a great experience. It was a challenging experience for sure. I was always over caring, I'd say, for them more than anything, to the point of where I'd even get a little anxious and overprotective. But that's okay, because you know what? I gave them a good life. They lived very long lives. 13 and a half and 14, which is very good for their breeds. And they were happy and healthy. They had nothing more than really routine visits. Sydney, who we put down when she was under a year old, had to have a hip surgery done just based on what was going on with her. She cleared that through, was able to get around and walk her whole life. And we're happy for that. So they were there for me mainly, towards the end of their lives. One thing that they'll never know they did, they were there for me post-divorce. And with my divorce, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus whatsoever or talk any negative. But for me, the hardest thing of this divorce was being split from my kids, as it is, I believe, for any parent. That was just the way it was. And that's not a knock at their mother or anything like that. That was the pain for me. That was the hard part. And it was hard and still is, even though it's going well. But those dogs were there for me to soften the blow, and kept me company, kept me busy. They, listened to my stupid things I would say to them. They just look at me like I'm weird, and I talk to them because that's what I do. I talk to animals. I don't care. But so I'm so grateful that they were there. That they survived, that they lived that long. I think, I'm not a big, divine intervention person, but, there's a reason why these dogs, I think, stuck it out as long as they did. Granted, it was right around the average lifespan for them. So I'm grateful for that. And that's what I'm getting into this a little bit more. I have had attachment and detachment issues in my life. I tend to be a very traditional person. I like to keep traditions alive. Relationships, I have held on to friendships. I have held on to romantic relationships longer than I should have. And not that those people are bad people. It just wasn't working, whether it was a friendship or a relationship or whatever. It just wasn't doing it. It could be a job. I've stayed in jobs too long just because it's comfort, it's complacency. It's not right. It's not good. It's something I'm working on. So I'm not here to sit here and tell you how to get through this. I'm telling you what I'm doing. So when it comes to the dogs, I'm going to give you the three things you can learn, and I'm going to kind of just go from there. First thing, so you get a dog, attachment. Okay, you're going to get this dog, and the odds are you're going to be the one that's going to bury your dog because of the odds of the lifespan of the human versus the dog. Excuse me. So what you got to do is understand it's going to still suck and hurt, and there's still going to be grief. But what you have to do is understand that you can't be taking in a dog as your lifeline. Like, you need this dog to be happy. Same thing with a person or a job or a place, whatever. You can't have that be your source of happiness. So many people do this with, a more of a romantic partner, or maybe a home, or like I said, a career or a job. And it's just, if you lose it, it becomes this hysterical moment. And that's where I think a lesson you can learn with dogs is, because you're kind of signing up for it. With a house, you can keep a house forever. You might keep your job forever. You might be with the same person forever. But with a dog, statistically, you are not going to have that dog forever. I mean, depending how old you, maybe you're old. That's it. But otherwise, the odds are you're going to be burying that dog. So I think that understanding that getting attachment doesn't mean neglect, okay? It doesn't mean you don't care. It just means that you're accepting that death, that dog is going to be gone one day. And it's hard because I'm going to get into this later, because there's two different brains and two different ways to think and feel. And there's a feeling brain and there's a thinking brain. All right. So like, you can logically prepare for something. Okay. So maybe it's the death of your dog or something like that. You could logically, in your head, in your brain, because your brain doesn't feel. Your brain is analytical. It's logical. It doesn't have emotion. It's your thoughts that are more factual and more just practical. Okay. So when that brain is going, you cannot prepare, that brain cannot necessarily prepare the feeling brain, which is more in your gut, in your solar plexus, in your chest, to act away. It doesn't control it. And in this book I read two books actually, but Everything is Fucked by Mark Manson and Anxiety RX by Russell Kennedy. Very good books. Those two books basically have the idea to get you to understand that you have two brains. You have a feeling brain and a thinking brain, and they kind of give you some pointers on how to understand which one's where. Mark Manson kind of says that your feeling brain is always in the driver's seat. We act upon emotions, and that our thinking brain is in the driver's seat. Russell Kennedy, he kind of said that, excuse me, his ego dragon, he would call his anxiety, and he was trying to get his thoughts and his anxiety is not a mental issue. It's a bodily issue, because you don't get anxious. Your thoughts feed the body, right? That feeds the anxiety. Your thoughts can help thwart that and can assist getting out of that anxious stage. It depends on how your thoughts are. So you can do that. That's kind of what he gets into a bit, but he was the one that kind of introduced me to this idea. And it's maybe a no-brainer to you, but for me, it was just like, all right, so I have to get these two things kind of to coordinate with each other as best as I can. So that's sort of something to understand when you go through this, is that you have two different brains, and one is going to be just logical, and the other one is the feeling brain. We react primarily with our emotions and instincts. So that being said, like, I can sit there and logically write out a whole bunch of shit about how I will be okay if this dog leaves, but when it happens, you might just become an emotional wreck, and everything you did with your logical thinking brain has gone out the window because your feeling brain has taken over and is now just letting the emotions pour out. So there is a way to get those two to kind of work in unison, and I'm doing that myself. I have not a lot of information for you here, but I think that if you feel like maybe you're having a hard time with managing your emotions, whether it be anxiety, depression, anger, irritability, chronic sadness, whatever it is, if you're feeling all that stuff, and you're still trying to think your way out of it, it's not going to happen. just, look into that. That's the advice I can give you, is look into how to get your thinking and feeling brain to be in unison and kind of work together better. So that's a little bit of something I'm trying to do myself. So going back to attachment, for instance, like, okay, so next year I believe my parents are selling their home, which is my childhood home. As a traditional man, that's going to be very weird that place that I've always just known to go back to for my entire life is going to be, somebody else is going to live there. That's weird to me. And it's mentally, like right now, I mean, it's not affecting me. I'm not crying over it. I'm not sad. I'm like, oh, wow, that's going to be weird. That's just my thinking brain telling me that's just what it is. We're identifying it as weird. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be weird. It's going to be sad. But you know what? When it actually happens, there's going to be this feeling that's going to come up from the insides, and it's going to be fucked up probably, and there'll be tears and just a shift, just an energy shift in a sense. Same thing with, relationships, all of that. You have to just kind of learn your baseline. You have to be okay. I have to be okay without a child at home, without a wife, a fiance, a girlfriend, something like that, which is what you have. You just have to be okay alone. That is exactly where I'm headed and making some progress in. And finding this baseline life alone, and it means alone. That means nobody else is involved. It's not selfish. It's healthy, because when you'll lose people, and it's not going to take away the emotions, the hurt, the grief. It's all going to be there, but you're going to be okay, and you're going to be able to handle it better instead of losing it, and you're going to be able to function and go. That's the goal. That's the goal. There's going to be a downtime for all of it, and that's it. Because I've said, I've held on to too many friendships, relationships in the past that I should have gotten out of, and now that I'm out of them, I can see them from the outside. And this is a me problem, not blaming other people. And they might be thinking the same of me. So perhaps it's just, people need to stop getting so offended when something doesn't work out or something like that. Or so your friendships go away. And, it's not necessarily, it doesn't always have to be a divisive ending. It just can be, that didn't fucking work. Shit, that sucks. Oh, well. That's why you have to have low expectations, or no expectations, even better. I think no expectations is my personal go-to for the rest of my life. Just no expectations. Doesn't mean I'm negative. I'm just not expecting anything. It's just everything's just happening as it is. And there's a saying that I like. It's called Amor Fati, that I read also in Mark Manson's book. And that's been out there. It's Latin. It means love of fate, or to love one's fate, which means you're just kind of accepting your death. They have memento mori is another one where you remember you are going to die. But Amor Fati is a little more, I don't know, it's a little less, I guess, morbid than memento mori, of just, hey, remember death, dude. Okay, got it. But love your fate at the same time, which means no matter what happens, good or bad, take something from it. Take a positive from it. What are you going to learn from this? How are you going to recover? Take it as a challenge. This sucks. Yeah, you're not a victim. Fuck the victim mentality. Some people don't even know what victim mentality is. We did a whole episode, me and Vinny Senamore. I talk about it all the time. But you get people, that just, they don't even know their victim mentality. They're so ingrained in it that they don't even know they have it. And then they get offended if you call them out on it. They're the ones yelling at you if they think that you have more than them. They'll try to tear you down because they feel like you have something they don't, or whatever it is. It's just a victim mentality's mindset. It's very, very just not healthy for people to carry around, and some do, and then they'll project it back onto you, and it's just ugly. But that's just how some people are, and they're not going to change, and they're just going to think that their intuition is better than yours, and that their life is victim ridden, and then they're poor them, right? So that's the way it is, man. That's how some people are, and anyone and everyone can have victim mentality. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter where you come from or who you are. But you got to get rid of it, because it's only holding you back. I know there's actual victims in life that don't have victim mentality, which is, pretty good, pretty upstanding for them. So anyways, attachment, find your baseline. Understand everybody's going to go at some point. We're all going to leave. Nothing is forever. Everything is temporary. Find a single way to be alone and at peace with yourself. So when something goes, you have this baseline that you know you're going to hit, and it's just you, and you're going to be fine. And you're like, oh, this is familiar now. I remember this. Now I'm just back at this. Sure, it's a little sad. Sure, you wish that person was there. Sure, you wish that animal was there. Sure, you wish that place was there. That tradition continued, but it didn't. And now you have to just go back to this, or find something new, find something different, do something else. Another cliche thing I always see is when something leaves, guess what? It gives you more time and more space and more energy for something new that's going to maybe even make your life better. So that's what I'm going for. All right, so that's detachment for dogs. That's one lesson to learn. The other one is patience. I won't spend too much time on this, but you got to train a dog. You have to tend to it. I don't believe a dog is the best, like, if you're going to have kids, I don't think like having a dog is really necessarily a good like way to like transition into having kids. I mean, it does give you a little bit more responsibility for a living thing. So I get it in that realm, but I just think that they're two totally different types of living things to take care of, that they don't really correlate the same, because you can't throw your kid in a cage before you leave and go out for 6 hours and come back. You just can't do that. But so it's a little different, but I think patience with animals is a good way to learn patience, because you can't necessarily communicate with it directly, especially. And then as they get older, like I had dealt with my dogs as they get older, I took it after a while. I wasn't very patient, but after a while, and I came to realize what was happening. I did administer some patience and gratitude for how long they'd been here, and that they made it. They made it. That's what I can say, and that's the gratitude I'm taking from my dogs. Rather than the grieving is there. The grieving is there. The stages are there, but I have my moments, and that's just human. So I'm doing that, but at the same time, that patience and that the gratitude that I'm going to administer here, is helping. So I thank them for that lesson in patience that I needed to see for myself to grow. So I will give Sydney and Lola that. They help me. So let's see. The other thing is unconditional love. Yes, that's something that you don't see too often from human to human, I don't think, anymore. I mean, I'm sure it's out there. But dogs are known for unconditional love. I mean, what a fucking creature, man. It lives like fucking a fraction of your life, and it will love you even if you treat it like shit. It's like, they say we don't deserve them. And there's a chance we don't. But boy, if you want something to love you unconditionally, you just can't get too attached to that unconditional love, because like we talked about in the first one there, that you have to, embrace it while it's here, be grateful for it while it's here. Don't dwell on the fact that it's not forever. Just remember it and take it in, and, know that. And I think, at the same time, like there is a benefit to figuring yourself out alone, without a person, without a pet. And that's necessary. But at some point, once you get that under control, I do want to urge anybody out there, if you lost your pet, and I'm sorry for that, but at the same time, if you are, ready for another one, I really think you're not replacing it. Don't think that it's pushing the memory of that dog or back. You're giving your home to another animal, and you're probably going to save its life if you're doing it the right way. So please do that. And I'll give you my information later about what else we're doing here for dogs. But that's sort of everything as far as what you can learn from them. Like I said, they were there for me after the divorce, and boy, their presence was so appreciated. It was really nice to have them there. So we kind of come from a place in our lives, and I think another thing how to get to this place. This is something I was thinking about the other day while I was driving around. We're conditioned, right, in this world, in this country, at least in the United States here, since we were very young, and movies and fairy tales and stories, they all seem, unless it's some morbid shit, unless you're watching some horror movies or you're watching some true crime stuff. But let's just say the average movie, the average story, the book, the fairy tale, it's once upon a time and it's happily ever after. Now, I think that in life we sort of think that everything when the movie ends, everybody's in a great place. Everybody's happy, and then the credits roll. And then you just leave there thinking, wow, they all found bliss. They all found it. They all found the secret to happiness, however it happened. Happily ever after. But I think that actually messes us up. I think growing up with fairy tales and happy stories messes us up because we subconsciously take that in over and over and over again from a very young age. And I think that we apply that subconsciously to life, to where we believe that we're going to keep progressing through this life. We go through the motions. We go through the cookie cutter way of life where we go to school, we graduate, we get a job, we find a significant other, we buy a house, we have a kid, we have another kid, maybe another. And then that's it. And then all of a sudden you're 38, 39, 40, and you're like, what the fuck? I did all this, and I still don't feel this sense of bliss. Maybe not, I'm not saying you're miserable, but I think some people are. I think that's what leads to these, I don't know, marriages are failing left and right, in my opinion. But anyways, I think that like you think there's going to be this bliss, this okay moment. And again, it's kind of came up in a sense in Mark Manson's book where he's like, everyone's looking for to be a 10 out of 10 happy all the time. When really, even if something great happens to you, you might hit a 10 out of 10 happiness for a short period of time. But no matter what happens, you always kind of go back to a 7 out of 10. That's kind of how he puts it. Some shit happens to you and you go down to about a 3 out of 10. You're fucking pissed and miserable. But as that instance fades away with time, everything fades with time. So if something shitty's happening, you're going to come back up to a 7. And if something great happens, you're going to come back down to the 7. You're going to always kind of be in this like, hey, nothing's really wrong, but nothing's really great. So I think the best thing to do is realize that when something is not really wrong, but also not really great, that's the best it's going to be. That's great. Good. We have to find happiness in that and be okay with being bored and be okay with not being constantly stimulated. And in today's society, everything is stimulation left and right. I just, I don't know. I want to throw something. I want to just take my phone and throw it away forever. I want to get a pager or some shit. I don't know. But if you think about it, we're sold all that. And we think we're supposed to reach this bliss point. I think this would be our feeling brain, not our logical brain might be able to say, well, no shit. Okay. No shit. But does your gut agree? Does your gut agree, or is your feeling brain still trying to search for that bliss, that just constant happiness 24/7 to where you're just overjoyed, jubilant, and feel wonderful? I don't think it happens for people. I don't know. I think if they do, they're faking it, because I don't think that's humanly possible to feel that level of bliss unless you're on drugs. And that's why I think people do drugs. So anyways, so we're waiting for that epiphany that never comes. And I think that's where the midlife crisis comes in. I think that's where people begin to get divorced or start quitting their shitty corporate job and to go do something that they love, because they start to realize that all these things that they were taught and told, I really were kind of bullshit, or they weren't there, or you stayed too long, or you stayed in the career too long, you stayed in the relationship too long. And now all of a sudden that bliss is not there. And then now we make a joke that somebody's in the midlife crisis doing all kinds of changes into their lives. When realistically, instead of making fun of midlife crises, we should applaud them in a sense, because, and they maybe call them something else, maybe an awakening. And people are going ahead and saying, fuck all this crap that I was taught. Fuck all this upbringing shit. Fuck these lies. And we're just going to go ahead and live life the way we want to live it. And I think that's a good way to go. Obviously, you got to play the game in society. You're not going to get out. We have a system in place here, and we all know what it is, and we have to abide by it. And you might not like it. Yeah, we're overworked. Yeah, we're underpaid. And it's by design, of course. We have to do this. And it's not, it's bullshit. Yes, it sucks. I get it. Everything's inflated. Nobody's making money. Everyone's in debt. I understand. I don't have an answer for you, because there's no other way. I'm sorry. There's just no other way. Because you have to create scarcity in monetary scarcity for anyone to want it. If there's an abundance of money, if you just give everybody money, well, fuck. What incentive is there to go and build something and go work and go create something? There's no incentive, because you just have money. There's going to be no value in it. And you're just going to sit there, and the world as you know it is not going to be the same. That's exactly what's going to happen. So, you have to kind of just figure it out yourself. And that's why they don't teach you. They don't teach kids financial literacy is like top thing in the world. And that's all you're doing your whole life. Like, why don't they teach that in school, right? Why are we not learning financial literacy when literally money management is the fucking like biggest thing you're going to do constantly every day? Everything has a price, everything has a value, everything has a cost, everything has an interest rate, it has a different thing. And they don't say shit in schools. I don't think, as far as I know, I'm told that. And I don't think they do, because they need people to be in debt, and that's the way the system is designed. I'm not saying I agree with it. I just don't have any other answers for you. It's going to keep society thriving and growing. I just don't see it happening. That's just the way it is. Yes, some people are more blessed than others. Some people have learned more than others. Some people are given more than others. It's just the way it is. What are you going to do? That's life. Life is not supposed to be fair. I think we're so obsessed with our feelings, with this fairness and all of this, and it's hard. But I don't think anybody should be suffering or that bad. But that's kind of where it happens sometimes. It's sad. It really is. But yeah, no, I mean, again, with the government, they can just print money at will. So all the taxes and the fees and all the shit that they're doing is not necessarily because they need the money. They can print the fucking money, but they need to keep you working for it so that we keep working and doing our shit. And with more dependency, right? That's because if we're financially, freedom comes in finance and health, obviously, number one. Now, if you don't have your health, we know this is given, but freedom also comes in financial form, because once you have enough money to retire and you have enough passive income coming in, you're done and you don't have to play the game anymore. And if everyone stopped playing the game, then the game would end and we would not have the same system in place. So the game needs losers, and that's just the way it is. So, and it's a lesson in self. They're making it hard. I'm not going to lie to you. This isn't like, get off your ass and do. I'm not a boomer. I'm not a touch boomer. They're making it fucking hard for people right now. And I feel very bad for people. There was one point where I believe that the only people that were like, not well off, or not the only people, but like, obviously there's generational stuff and depression and things. I'm not talking about that, but I believe there was one point in life where if you were able to obtain financial literacy and understand what to do with money, make it just a decent living, that you would stay out of deep debt and poverty and shit like that. Now, I don't think it's like that anymore. I think you can actually be very financially literate and know what to do with money and still have a fucking hard time getting ahead now, the way things are. Not saying it's impossible. I'm not making an excuse. I think it's very possible, but that's just sort of where we're at. But anyways, this episode really just kind of went off on another tangent there, but I don't really care. So that said, everything ends. Okay, everything is going to end, no matter what it is, and you're going to logically know that, but you're going to have to figure out how to emotionally, internally accept it. And I don't have that answer. I'm working on it. I shift to a gratitude mindset, like I was saying before. My dogs died. Okay. Maybe that's a bad analogy because they did live to their fullest lives, in my opinion, both in quality and longevity. So, but I'll use it anyways. I could easily just be a sad victim looking for sympathy and all of this. And that's not fun because that keeps me in the sadness and the grief. It keeps me in there. The victim mentality would keep me in there. Be sad for me, everyone. Be sad for me. But that's it. You can sit in that maybe for a little bit, but that's it. But now you got to shift a gratitude mindset into feeling gratitude. So where I'm going with that is, holy shit, my dogs, they lived for this long a period of time. I got what I prayed for when I got those dogs. I said, I want these dogs to be here that long. What fucks me up in life in general, when something ends, no matter how long it is, whether it's a 20-year thing, whether it's a 10-year thing, whatever it is, 2 years, whatever it is, when it ends, it feels like a blink. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like, I'll use my dog's lives, 14 years. I remember them starting, and I remember have memories within, but at the same time, the way time functions in our bodies, it felt like a blink at this point. When my last dog died last Thursday, it felt like now their lives feel like a blink. And I think that's so sad because that happens with people. That happens with relationships. It's almost as if it was just time doesn't actually exist. And I've had this argument before. I'm not going to get into it right now because I have a change of heart a little bit on it too, because time, I always would say, didn't exist. I said it's a man-made construct. It's for organizational purposes. It's very useful. It exists in theory and how we put it together, but it doesn't exist. Like, we're the only species that follows time. Everything else is instinct. So I just always said time doesn't exist. We made it up for organizational purposes. But now I feel stuff. I've been feeling different inside of me, not mentally, but in me, feeling time shifts, feeling these, like I was saying, like it feels like a blink. I don't know. Maybe these are just human feelings and it's not, time still doesn't exist. Or maybe that is me feeling time. Therefore, it possibly does exist. So, because you can't really observe it, you can't see it, you can't stretch it, you can't move through it. Time. So what is it there, or what? I don't. You can feel. You can't see the wind. You can feel the wind. You can see and feel fire. Those are all tangibles. Cannot see time. Cannot feel. Maybe I can feel time. That's where I'm at right now with it. Never just going to stick to something and just say that's what it is. If I feel differently, I'm going to talk about it. That's the bottom line. Anyways, I'm doing a walk for my dogs' lives with PAWS Chicago. And I have a goal in mind. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, and I'm embarrassed now that I said that, but whatever. I'm going to find the founder of PAWS Chicago. I used to do their 5 and 8Ks. They're a no-kill shelter out here. Thousands upon thousands, hundreds of thousands of lives saved through this organization. And I used to collect some donations. I would go downtown to Montrose Harbor, run the 8K. I'm taking my daughters this year with me. We're going to walk this year. And, excuse me. And we're going to do it in honor of Sydney and Lola, our dogs. And we're going to make a day of it. We're going to get some, hopefully, nice weather. It's coming up here within a month, so hopefully it'll still be nice out. Get some good food down in the city. And that'll be the day. It'll be a little remembrance to our animals, to our pups. And we got some donations already in. It's on my Facebook page. If you need to, I'll give you my contact info in a bit. And if you want to donate to our run or walk, you can. So that's what we're doing. So, to end this thing here, that's just sort of a lot of little things that I've been thinking about lately. Coming to terms with things ending, understanding grief, understanding baseline, being okay alone. It's been good. So that's where I'm at. And, there's lonely times, but there's also, I know things will pass. And I know that's another thing with gratitude. When something is good, when it's good, you got to grasp the gratitude in that moment. When things are not good, you have to come to the understanding that, oh, good, this is not forever. Nothing is forever. Not even this good. So the good moment, be grateful for it because it's going to end, the good moment. The bad, shitty moments, which you may or may not be grateful for in those moments, you have to take the positivity out knowing that's going to also end. So everything ends, good or bad. That's all I know. That's just me spewing shit. Or maybe I'm just dumber than shit and I don't know what I'm talking about. Who knows? But I have a microphone and you hit play on this and here we are. So thank you for doing that, by the way. So to reach me and if you want to talk about anything, be on the show or whatever it is, it's at MFS Wellness. That's Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn right now. I took X off my phone for a little bit just to reduce social media right now. But I have an account there. Mike at mfswellness.com is my email. If you want to get the link, it's somewhere on my Facebook page for the PAWS walk to donate, or I can send it to you if you want to email me or whatever. So I would like to give a huge thanks to my dogs, Sydney, Lola. They were great. Amazing family members and animals. Treat them well, please. Treat the animals well. Treat your pets well. And love them while they're here. Stop and don't take them for granted. Stop and pet them every day, even if it's just for a little bit. Give them a kiss before you leave the house. It's just, trust me, you'll be happy you did. So for those dogs and for all you who listen, thank you. Appreciate you a ton. And we're gonna keep doing this podcast probably Maybe this is what won't end. The podcast is never going to end. Well, when I'm dead, it's going to end. So don't get used to me because I'm going to die one day, and one day this podcast will not be here. You can go back to all the way to the beginning and listen again over and over again if you can't get enough of me. Essentially, this will be my legacy, I guess. But hopefully, there's more in store. So we will talk on the next episode. Thank you.